Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into a really powerful but often quite subtle challenge, navigating the whole landscape of spiritual teaching. In a world where, well, every phone is buzzing with the latest guru or some curated wisdom, it's just incredibly easy to absorb beliefs without really examining them.
Yeah, you just sort of soak it up.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
think of it like this. How do you actually separate genuine insight from, you know, those smooth words that might subtly lead you off track?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Right. So our mission today really is to equip you with the insights, the tools to critically evaluate what you hear, anchor your understanding in truth, and, well, guard against just uncritically absorbing stuff.
And when we say doctrinal discernment, it sounds maybe a bit academic,
It can. Yeah.
but it's really not just about spotting errors. It's more like a spiritual skill, wouldn't you say? Understanding what truly aligns with the core texts.
Yes. Distinguishing the real teachings from narratives that might just sound good but are subtly misleading. And our main source material for this deep dive comes from some ancient, yet honestly incredibly urgent warnings. We're looking at 2 Timothy chapter 4 and also the passionate plea in the Letter of Jude.
And they really aren't just historical documents collecting dust somewhere.
Not at all. They feel like urgent calls for vigilance, like right now in our modern world.
What strikes me is how clearly those ancient warnings echo today. I mean, just think about the sheer volume of voices and opinions you encounter every single day.
It's overwhelming.
It really is. And that environment just makes it so easy for beliefs to be absorbed kind of under the radar, shaping your understanding without you maybe even noticing it.
Right.
So this deep dive hopefully will spark some of those aha moments, help you see if maybe your faith has become a bit routine rather than something deeply rooted. And it brings up that big question, how can we possibly guard against deception in this generation where almost any voice can get amplified globally?
That's a perfect framing question. Let's really dig into that. Imagine you're sailing, right? But your compass isn't quite calibrated.
Okay.
You feel like you're moving, you're active, but you might actually be drifting, way off course.
Yeah, unknowingly.
Exactly. And a spiritual life without that doctrinal discernment, well, it can often drift in a similar way. But what's kind of transformative here is realizing that our devotion, it actually deepens when our beliefs are firmly anchored in truth.
That's such a key insight.
I remember back in college, actually, I was completely captivated by this super charismatic teacher. I mean, his arguments felt airtight. His message was just so compelling.
We've probably all encountered someone like that.
Totally. He just made everything feel immediate revolutionary. But then a mentor I really trusted saw my enthusiasm and just gently asked, hey, does what he's teaching really line up with the foundational texts? Have you actually checked the source material yourself?
Wow. That's such a critical pivot point, isn't it? Because it's so easy to get drawn in by the charisma, by the compelling story.
It really is.
But, like you found out, the anchor, ultimately, it has to be the source material itself. Always. If you look back historically, figures like, say, Charles Spurgeon, he fought against errors in his day, not really with harshness, but just with this unwavering commitment to the Bible and a deep love for truth.
Right.
He showed discernment through his preaching, sure, but also his writings. He gently but very firmly point people back to Scripture.
That redirection.
Exactly. And, fast forward to today, people like Nancy DeMoss Wolgemuth remind us that discernment isn't just defensive, like trying to avoid mistakes.
Right. It's not just about dodging bullets.
No, it's profoundly devotional. It's about cultivating a heart that genuinely seeks and loves truth. And that fuels real worship, a deeper connection to what's actually real.
So connecting those tests, discernment isn't some dry academic chore.
Yeah.
It's actually, well, deeply devotional work.
That's
It's about hearing the voice of truth through all the noise. Okay, so let's unpack those specific scriptures we mentioned because they give some incredibly clear warnings and guidance.
good idea.
First, 2 Timothy 4, verses 3 and 4. When Paul talks about itching ears, I mean, that's such a vivid picture, right?
It really is.
He's painting this picture of people who just crave messages that affirm what they already want or just make them feel good rather than messages that might challenge them with, well, the truth.
Yeah, comfort over challenge.
Exactly. And his warning is pretty stark. A time will come, he says, when people just won't put up with sound teaching. Instead, they'll gather teachers around them who basically twist the truth to satisfy those itching ears.
And that warning from Paul, it finds this really powerful echo in the Letter of Jude. Jude uses incredibly strong imagery to describe these kinds of people.
He does, yeah.
He calls them murmurers, complainers, clouds without water. I mean, really painting a picture of those who exploit grace for their own license, basically twisting it to justify whatever they want to do.
Empty promises.
Totally. They promise a lot, but deliver nothing substantial. They leave listeners spiritually thirsty, But Jude doesn't just describe the problem. In verse 3, he gives this direct, urgent command. Contend for the faith that was once for all delivered to the saints.
That word contend is strong.
It is. It's not just a suggestion. It's like a battle cry almost. Adopt a mindset ready to guard this spiritual treasure. And the key thing here is that these aren't just, historical footnotes.
Right, not just for back then.
No, they're urgent wake-up calls for us now, especially when you think about how easily algorithms can create echo chambers, just feeding us more of what we already seem to want.
Oh, absolutely. Wake-up calls that hit home today. So, okay, putting this all together, here's kind of our collective call to action, built right from these timeless warnings.
Okay.
First, you've got to anchor yourself personally in Scripture, read it, memorize it, meditate on it. That's your primary compass.
Foundational.
Second, diligently evaluate teachers. And this is key. Prioritize Scripture over charisma. Does their teaching really align with biblical truth? Don't just listen to the words. Look at the fruit, the context, the consistency over time. That takes effort, but it's crucial. It does. And third, engage your community. Jude says contend for the faith, and that for implies it's a communal mission, something we do together.
Right.
Thinking back to the Jesus movement in the 70s, incredible spiritual awakening.
That's a huge impact.
But also, unfortunately, some teachers gain followings without much examination. And the churches, the movements that really cultivated deep doctrinal roots in Scripture, they didn't just survive, they thrived. Those that didn't often fractured under the pressure of untested ideas.
That's a fantastic historical example. It really shows the principle enduring over time. And that communal aspect you mentioned, it's so vital because it gives you that framework for accountability, for shared wisdom. It helps you spot blind spots you might miss just on your own. It's definitely harder to get swayed by some smooth talker when you're openly discussing their ideas with others who are also grounded in the source material.
Yeah, that shared grounding.
Exactly. But this raises a question for me, though. In a world where individual voices get so amplified, and echo chambers are, let's face it, pretty common.
They are.
How do we intentionally build these spaces for real communal discernment without them just becoming, groupthink or just reinforcing the biases we already have?
That's a phenomenal point, a really important nuance. It's not about shutting down tough conversations, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about fostering environments where truth is genuinely sought, genuinely cherished, like above everything else. For instance, let's picture a scenario. Someone you really respect, maybe a popular online influencer, or even a close friend.
Okay.
They start promoting a belief that, say, Jesus' death wasn't really about sin, but just a demonstration of God's immense love. Now, on the surface, that sounds comforting, doesn't it?
It does sound appealing, yeah.
So how would you approach that? Would you just immediately dismiss them? Or would you maybe gently question, bring Scripture into the conversation? Maybe pray with them to understand where they're coming from while still holding firm to the truth. It really challenges us to walk that fine line between, say, healthy skepticism and just cynical distrust in spiritual things.
It's exactly in those quiet moments of personal reflection and in those potentially challenging conversations that we actually put the theory into practice.
Right, where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah. And what stands out in your scenario is the focus on engagement, on thoughtful response, not immediate judgment or pulling away. Discernment isn't really about condemnation.
Right.
It's about clear-sightedness, right?
Wow.
And a commitment to truth, whether you find that truth through gentle questions or by holding a belief you cherish up to the light of the core texts. It's about hearing God's voice amidst all the other noise. And that process, it's just essential for real growth and honestly for a deeper, more peaceful walk.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap the core insights we've kind of uncovered here.
Good idea.
First, false teaching. It's real, it's active in our world, and often it's subtly disguised.
Very subtle sometimes.
Second, discernment isn't just, spiritual self-defense. It's actually a profound act of devotion that, maybe surprisingly, deepens your capacity for peace and joy.
I really like that connection.
And finally, our collective mission seems pretty clear. Prioritize reading Scripture, diligently evaluate teachers, really favoring Scripture over just charisma, and foster those open, honest community conversations where truth is the goal.
Spot on. And to help you, the listener, continue your own deep dive into this, well, really vital topic, here's maybe some practical homework for you.
Okay.
First, maybe take some time this week to read the Letter of Jude. Just read it slowly, prayerfully. It's short, but it is packed with powerful stuff.
It really is.
Second, maybe identify one teacher you follow. Could be someone online, could be someone you listen to regularly, and compare a recent teaching of theirs directly to Scripture. Just ask yourself honestly, does this truly line up?
A practical check.
Exactly. And finally, maybe consider inviting a friend into just a short conversation about this very topic. Talk about what you're learning. It encourages that collective growth and strengthens everyone's discernment muscles together.
Great suggestions.
And maybe here's one final provocative thought to chew on this week. On a scale of, say, 1 to 10, how engaged are you really in examining your own beliefs each week?
Ooh, that's a challenging question.
It is. Are you truly checking the compass, or are you maybe just drifting a bit? Because those quiet moments of reflection, that's really where all this theory actually translates into practice.
That's a powerful thought to leave you all with. Definitely something to consider. Join us next time for our deep dive into grace versus license, navigating the balance.
Ooh, that's a big one too.
It is. We'll explore how to distinguish genuine grace from, well, spiritual opportunism, and tackle that challenge of keeping our hearts open to hope without accidentally opening the door to error. Should be fascinating.